S.H.FIGUARTS Dragon Ball Super Hit was released in Japan on the 24th of June as a Bandai premium web exclusive and retails for 6,500 yen or $60 on the premium Bandai US website. Again, this is the Japanese release, and Hit will start shipping through Bandai Premium US in July for US residents. The legendary assassin of Universe 6 was first introduced to us in Dragon Ball Super's Universe 6 vs. Universe 7 tournament, or otherwise known as the Champa arc. Hit is probably one of Goku's most popular opponents in the Dragon Ball Super series, and I think it has a lot to do with his mysterious history and unique set of abilities that make him a very dangerous character, and is one of the very few to actually kill Goku. Being a completely new mold, I really wasn't sure what to expect with this one. Obviously, Hit is a humanoid, so it does feel like familiar territory in some areas, as his design and look definitely fits in with the Dragon Ball Super series. But there are also a few different points of engineering that I don't want to say are new, but have been used in other S.H.FIGUARTS lines that make this figure feel a little more unique than we are usually used to. Overall, I am pretty happy with how Hit came out, and it's definitely a refreshing change to see a new figure that doesn't share any design elements from any existing figures. However, there are a few areas that I think could have been done a little bit better, a few engineering and sculpting details that Tamashii have overlooked or sacrificed for articulation or to achieve the overall look of the character. So I've always thought Hit looked a little like Cooler, and Cooler incidentally being one of my favorite movie villains, I guess my opinion might be a little bit biased when it comes to the aesthetics. But the head sculpt does look spot on to the anime. We get 4 in total, and like Berta, the red eyes on Hit really pop and is a nice contrast to the muted color palette used on the rest of the figure. It's not the most complicated design, but the details are there, paint apps are sharp and clean, and I like the 2 shades of purple they've used for the head and face. I think 3 of the 4 heads are fantastic, whilst the head with the green teeth could have benefited from some outlining around the mouth area, as it does kind of look like Hit drank a glass of milk and forgot to wipe his milk moustache off. As I mentioned, Hit is a completely brand new figure. For the most part, what you see is pretty much what you get, but there are a few interesting points of engineering in the side skirts, the waist area, the shoulders, which I will get into a little later. Some of it works and some of it unfortunately doesn't. Overall, I think Tamashii have done well with the proportions. Hit has a taller, slender physique, and I think it's reflected quite accurately, especially when you see him standing next to Goku here. Hit is quite significantly taller. A lot of the characters from Dragon Ball Super aren't the most elaborate in terms of design, but there is actually quite a lot of sculpted detail in Hit's suit. It's a mix between body armor and musculature, and even without shading still makes for an interesting design. It's got that nice matte finish and does look more like a high-end collectible compared to some of the other figures in the line, so I'm really happy about that. There is one particular area I'm not too happy with, and it's the upper thighs and crotch. I've taken off the side skirts to give you a better look, but as you can see here, the thighs are really well sculpted, but kind of stop a third of the way. You can see the area between his crotch and his leg, that section that gives the thigh cut, is just blank unsculpted plastic. I understand that Hit usually has these areas covered, but in the manga we do see Hit without the side skirts. And speaking of his crotch, I do believe it's supposed to be the same color as his legs, but instead they've colored it in the same color as his torso. I personally probably won't be taking off the side skirt pieces myself, but I think that they should have extended the sculpted area on the thighs. Seen or not seen, I think it's the principle. Now onto the waist. The belt here is a separate floating piece, which I'm sure Tamashii did to free up some space for articulation, but in doing so it does leave quite a bit of gap between the torso and the waist. So I don't think Tamashii designed this figure with the intention of having Hit without his side skirt pieces. I know most people probably won't display Hit like this anyway, but it would have been nice to have that option. So as you can see, there are 2 slots on both the left and the right sides of Hit's waist, which you use to attach the side skirt pieces, which are made from a soft rubbery material. There are tabs which you just slide into those slots, and as they are removable pieces, they tend to come out when you're posing them. Tamashii have made them detachable because you do get an extra set of side skirts which have his hands in his pockets, so you can recreate Hit's iconic pose. Once plugged in, they aren't loose and stay on there pretty securely, but at certain angles and poses the side skirts will pop out, which can be a little annoying. As for paint, the only paint apps we get are the yellow on his belt and grey areas on Hit's boots, which isn't a bad thing as you're not going to encounter any paint rub. So now onto the articulation. Hit is actually quite impressive and has some really good range of movement. He doesn't have anything new in terms of engineering, but he does borrow some design elements, some articulation elements from other Figuarts lines, and it works actually really well with this figure. So we're going to start off with head. Hit doesn't look up too much, and it's because of this collar piece here. It does hinder the articulation, but because his head is on a ball joint and the neck is also a separate piece as well, he does look down quite well. You have side to side rotation, and you do get a bit of tilt, actually quite a lot of tilt there as well. Moving to his shoulders, this is what I was talking about, borrowing other elements from other lines. These shoulder pieces here are on ball joints and hinges, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are very similar to the MCU Iron Man and Captain America figures. It's a separate piece, like I said, and it's on a ball joint and a hinge, so you can get Hit to move his arms way past 90 degrees and kind of have that kind of cap on to hide the gap, and it works really well. So it doesn't hinder his arm movement at all, and you can just kind of cap it on to hide the gap. Hit does have some butterfly joints, and he can extend his arms way past his chest. Look at that, that's fantastic. I do have the extra chest piece here. It's the chest piece that is a little bit more narrow, which allows you to get his arms further in front of him. But that's some really, really good butterfly joint right there. You do get a little bit of a gap there, but a minor sacrifice for that range of movement. He does have 360 at the shoulders. You have a bicep swivel, and you get some really good double jointed elbow action there. Look at that. It's fantastic. You get hinges and swivels at the wrist, of course. Now moving on to the torso. The torso it does look like it's just a standard, I guess you could say a Marvel Legends ab crunch. The way that it's sculpted, it looks a lot like a Marvel Legends forward and back ab crunch, but there is a bit of swivel there. So I believe it is on a ball joint, but the way that it's sculpted, it kind of just functions like your standard Marvel Legends ab crunch. You do, however, have a ball joint, and the side skirts are going to pop off. You do have a ball joint there at the waist, so he is able to get side to side swivel and some side to side tilt as well. You can move that around, which is good. So it's a nice combination of having that forward and back ab crunch, but also getting, you know, some movement there at the lower waist as well. As I mentioned before, the belt is a separate floating piece. The side skirts, they don't necessarily hinder the articulation, but they will pop off if you pose it at an angle that I guess detaches it from the slots and the tabs there. So I'm going to show you with how much the legs extend with and without the side skirts. So without the side skirts, he can move his legs out that much. And with the side skirt, let's just get that back on there. There really isn't much of a difference, as you can see. He can kick forward 90 degrees. And with the side skirts on there, it's the same. There is upper thigh cut. Let's get that out of the way. Double jointed knees. His feet do move really far back and really far up, and it's because of these, I don't know, I guess you can call it a hinge ball joint there. And this joint here is actually very similar to the MCU Captain America. I don't have that figure anymore, but I do remember that figure having this particular joint, and it works really well with HIT because you can get some really good ankle tilt, as you can see here. Look at that. But yes, you do get some fantastic ankle tilt, and you do get your toe hinge there as well. So all in all, some really fantastic articulation there for HIT. Even with these side skirt pieces on, you just got to be careful when you're posing around. They do tend to fall off, but once you get them in a pose, you can kind of put these side skirt pieces back on, and you should be good to go. HIT comes with quite a bit of accessories, including some really well sculpted hands. This is what I'm talking about, Tamashi. We get a set of normal fists, a set of slightly angled fists. These are for HIT's iconic fighting stance, which to me looks very similar to some Wing Chun style, a bit of Ip Man going on there. We get 2 open palm blast hands, a pair of chopping hands, some relaxed open palm hands, and 1 right energy palming hand. And much like how we've seen in the past with Final Form Frieza and in more recent Ginyu Force Chase, we get a clear plastic attachment and energy ball effect that you can plug in and clip onto his wrist. An energy ball effect that you can plug in. As I mentioned earlier, HIT comes with 4 interchangeable heads, 4 heads, not faceplates, an extra chest piece that allows HIT to bring his arms in a little closer to his chest, an extra chest piece that allows HIT to bring his arms in a little closer to his chest, and last but not least, the extra side skirts with the hands in the pocket. The hands are part of the skirt pieces, so you just plug it straight into the wrist pegs and attach it to the waist. Hit is obviously a very popular character from the Dragon Ball Super series, so I know a lot of collectors have high expectations of this figure, but for the most part, I think it delivers. It's a great looking representation of the character, and Tamashii have tried to give us options to recreate most of Hit's signature looks. Yes, there is definitely some room for improvement, especially in that crotch area, and the side skirts can be a little bit finicky at times, but I think overall, the excellent articulation and the amount of accessories we get with this figure, Hit definitely scratches that itch many Dragon Ball Super fans have had ever since his introduction to the series. He's going to be a little bit harder to hunt down now since he's a web exclusive if you missed the pre-order and are looking for one now. But again, if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Super, Hit is definitely one of Goku's more memorable opponents you'll want in your collection. So that's going to do it for this review of S.H.FIGUARTS Dragon Ball Super Hit. Thank you so much for tuning in again. You guys are the best. Subscribe, likes, and comments are always appreciated. Stay safe, keep healthy, and until next time, yoroshiku. Stay safe, keep healthy, and until next time, yoroshiku.